You went in for an oil change. 45 minutes later, a technician walks out holding a clipboard, and suddenly you're looking at a $400 estimate for services you didn't ask for and didn't know you needed. So you approved it, because you didn't want to be the person who said no and then something actually went wrong. Here's the thing. That feeling, that moment of uncertainty at the service counter, that's not an accident. That's a system. And it works on smart, responsible car owners every single day. In this video, I'm going to walk you through 13 of the most common patterns that drain money from car owners. Not because every shop is out to get you, but because most drivers don't know what they're actually looking at when they get that estimate. By the end of this, you'll have a short mental checklist you can pull up before your next shop visit, and you'll know exactly which questions to ask. Let's get into it. Before we go through the list, I want to set something up, because this video isn't about bashing mechanics or telling you that dealerships are evil. That's not what's happening here. Most mechanics are doing their jobs. Most service writers are following a system that their shop built. The problem isn't that people are lying to you. The problem is that there's a significant gap between what your car actually needs and what gets recommended, and that gap is where most of the money gets lost. Service departments run on margins. Certain services carry high profit margins and low labor time. That combination makes them very easy to recommend. And if you don't know which ones fall into that category, you're at a disadvantage the moment you hand over your keys. Here's a preview of what's coming. One of the items on this list involves a product that costs roughly $8 to manufacture and gets sold as a $120 service upgrade. Another one involves a maintenance schedule that your dealer uses, which is completely different from the one printed in your owner's manual. And a third one? It's something most people are doing wrong at home that makes all of this worse. Let's start with the ones that hit your wallet hardest. This one is extremely common and extremely profitable. You go in for a standard service, and somewhere on the estimate there's a fuel system treatment or injector cleaning service, usually between $80 and $150. Now here's the thing. Modern engines, especially anything built in the last 15 to 20 years, are already designed to handle their own fuel system chemistry. Your fuel has detergent additives built in. If your car is running smoothly, accelerating without hesitation, and showing no rough idle, your injectors are almost certainly fine. The service isn't fake. It exists for a real reason. But it's most relevant for high-mileage engines showing actual symptoms. Recommending it on a routine visit for a car with no symptoms? That's where it becomes a revenue move, not a maintenance move. If a shop recommends this, ask one question. What specific symptom are we trying to address? If the answer is vague, you have your answer. Throttle bodies do get dirty over time. Carbon buildup is real. But on most vehicles under 60,000 miles that idle cleanly and accelerate normally, this service is well ahead of schedule. The tip-off is usually when it shows up as a recommended service with no complaint from the driver and no diagnostic code on the system. If your car isn't hunting at idle, isn't hesitating on acceleration, and doesn't have a check engine light, this one can wait. Ask to see the throttle body if they're recommending a cleaning. A shop confident in their recommendation should have no problem showing you the actual component. This is the $8 product sold as $120 one I mentioned earlier. There are several add-on products, oil system additives, engine flush treatments, fuel conditioners, that shops add into your service almost automatically. Sometimes it's disclosed. Often it's just on the invoice as a line item you glance past. These products aren't necessarily harmful. Some of them are legitimate in specific situations. But adding them as a default to every routine oil change on every car regardless of condition? That's not maintenance. That's margin. Before you approve any oil change, look at the full line item list. If you see an additive, treatment, or engine conditioner that wasn't on your last invoice, ask what it is and why it's being recommended specifically for your car today. This is the simplest one on the list, and it catches people constantly. A technician pulls your cabin air filter during a routine inspection, holds it up under shop lighting to show you it's dirty, and recommends a replacement, usually for $50 to $80 in labor and parts. That same filter at an auto parts store costs between $10 and $20, and on most vehicles, replacing it takes about 90 seconds. It's almost always behind the glove box or under the dashboard on the passenger side. The filter does need replacing, typically every 15 to 25,000 miles depending on your environment. That part is real. But paying shop labor rates for a DIY job this simple is money you don't need to spend. Here's where we shift from what the shop does to what you might be doing at home, because a lot of the vulnerability that makes these upsells work starts with owner habits that create real, preventable wear. This one sounds small. It isn't. When you drive, your tires heat up. Heat expands air. So if you check your tire pressure after a commute or a highway run, the reading you get is higher than your actual cold pressure baseline. You might look at it, see 34 psi, think everything's fine, and move on. But your manufacturer cold pressure spec might be 32 psi, meaning in real driving conditions, your tires have been running underinflated for weeks, possibly months. Underinflated tires wear on the outer edges faster. They reduce your fuel efficiency, and over time, that uneven wear pattern costs you a full set of tires much sooner than it should. The right time to check tire pressure? First thing in the morning, before you've moved the car. That's your cold reading, and that's the one that actually tells you something useful. Modern engines are very good at hiding problems. That's not a feature, it's a liability for owners who use "feels fine" as their maintenance trigger. Oil degrades chemically before it fails mechanically. By the time you notice anything, a slightly louder engine, a hint of extra vibration, reduced performance, the oil has been in breakdown mode for a while. Sludge builds up silently in narrow passages, on valve train components, in areas where fresh oil needs to circulate freely. The engine doesn't complain. And then one day it does. And by then the conversation shifts from an oil change to something significantly more expensive. Follow your manufacturer's specified interval, not the shop's interval, the one in your actual owner's manual. On most modern vehicles with full synthetic oil, that's somewhere between 7,500 and 10,000 miles. Some are longer. Check your manual. This is the one most people get wrong in a specific and expensive way. Coolant doesn't just keep your engine from overheating. It also protects your cooling system components, the water pump, the aluminum surfaces throughout your engine, the radiator, from corrosion. As coolant ages, its protective additives break down. The fluid itself becomes slightly acidic. There's no dashboard light for degraded coolant. Your car won't tell you. But degraded coolant actively eats away at cooling system components over time. A coolant flush runs somewhere between $100 and $150 at most shops. Replacing a water pump because the coolant corroded it? That's $300 to $750. Dealing with a head gasket failure from a chain reaction that started with overheating? That's $1,500 to $2,500 or more. Your coolant should be checked, not just topped off, based on your manufacturer's schedule. Most factory fill coolants are rated for 5 years or 100,000 miles. If you don't know when yours was last done, that's your starting point. Alright, let's take a step back for a second. We've covered the shop side plays, the services that get added to your estimate without much justification. And we've covered the owner side habits that create the vulnerability in the first place. Here's what connects them. Shops sell urgency. Owners respond to urgency. But if you understand your car's actual condition and actual schedule, urgency loses its grip. The next section is where it gets more expensive and, honestly, less obvious. We're talking about the math behind all of this. A few specific dealer-level moves that most car owners don't even realize are happening, and a warranty protection law that dealers have been quietly ignoring for years. Stay with me. Let me show you the math on why this entire category matters so much. Let's compare two situations. Situation A. You get a transmission fluid service at the right time, when the fluid is dark brown, slightly burnt smelling, and past its service life. That service costs roughly $100 to $200 at most shops. Done properly, it extends the life of your transmission significantly. Situation B. You ignore the fluid, not because you're negligent, but because no one told you what to actually look for. The transmission starts slipping at 110,000 miles. Repair estimate, $2,500 to $4,000 minimum. Replacement in some vehicles, well over that. That's not a 20% cost difference. That's a 15x to 20x difference for something that was preventable. Now here's the part about the upsell. Some shops recommend automatic transmission flushes on a calendar schedule regardless of fluid condition. But condition matters more than mileage alone. The way to check it yourself? On most vehicles with a dipstick, pull it out and look at the color. Healthy automatic transmission fluid is bright red to light pink, almost translucent. Dark brown means it's degraded. Black with a burnt smell means it needed attention a while ago. Milky or cloudy? That's a serious contamination issue. See a mechanic immediately. If your fluid looks healthy and your car shifts smoothly, you likely don't need a flush yet. If a shop recommends it at a calendar interval with no mention of condition, ask them to show you the fluid. Batteries do fail, but replacing a battery without testing the charging system first is one of the most expensive shortcuts a shop can take. Here's the pattern. Your car shows a slow crank, a warning light, or you come back to a dead battery. The shop recommends a new battery. You pay $200 to $300, leave feeling good, and 2 months later, you're back with the same problem. Why? Because the battery wasn't the root cause. The alternator was undercharging, or there was a parasitic drain pulling power overnight. Replacing the battery without identifying those issues just resets the clock. A proper diagnosis includes a battery load test, an alternator output test, and a check for parasitic current draw. If a shop is recommending a battery without mentioning those, ask specifically, did you test the alternator and check for parasitic draw? That question alone will tell you whether you're getting a proper diagnosis or a parts replacement. This one gets sold at dealerships and tire shops with impressive sounding science. Nitrogen is more stable than regular air in temperature swings. That part is actually true. The part they leave out? The difference in pressure variation between nitrogen and regular air across normal temperature ranges is genuinely minimal, typically 1 to 2 psi, and regular air is already about 78% nitrogen. The upsell usually runs $30 to $80 to fill your tires with nitrogen. Meanwhile, if you check your tire pressure regularly with a decent gauge, which takes about 3 minutes and costs a few dollars for the gauge, you're getting most of the benefit for free. If your tires are already filled with nitrogen and you need to top off, using regular air won't damage anything. The nitrogen advantage essentially disappears the moment you mix it anyway. Here is one of the most important things in this entire video, and it's something most car owners never learn exists. Your owner's manual contains 2 separate maintenance schedules. One is for normal driving conditions. One is for severe driving conditions, which includes things like towing heavy loads, off-road use, extreme temperatures, and, this is the key, frequent short trips and stop-and-go driving. Now here's what some dealer service departments do. They classify your normal daily commute as severe duty driving. Technically, stop-and-go city traffic does fall under that definition in most owners' manuals. But applying the severe duty schedule to every commuter means recommending oil changes, fluid services, and inspections at intervals that are significantly more frequent and significantly more expensive than what the average driver actually needs. Check your own manual. Look at both schedules. Figure out which one honestly reflects how you drive. For most people who do highway miles mixed with city driving, the normal schedule is the right baseline. This one is more of a knowledge trap than a service upsell, but it costs people real money in the form of unnecessary dealer visits. Dealers sometimes imply, sometimes say outright, that having your car serviced somewhere other than their shop will void your warranty. That's misleading, and in most cases, it's simply not true. Under the Magnuson-Moss Warranty Act, a federal law enforced by the FTC, dealers cannot void your warranty simply because you had service performed at an independent shop or used aftermarket parts. They would have to prove that the independent shop's work directly caused a specific failure to deny coverage. That means you can take your vehicle to a reputable independent mechanic for oil changes, brake work, or tire rotations, and your powertrain warranty stays intact. Knowing that law exists changes the entire calculus of dealer loyalty. You don't have to pay dealer labor rates for routine maintenance just to protect your warranty. This is the final one, and it tends to happen at a moment when people are least prepared to push back. When they're picking up a new or used vehicle and just want to get in the car and drive. Paint sealant packages, fabric protection, VIN etching for theft prevention, nitrogen tire fills, interior protection plans. These are often presented as already included or nearly included, and the pressure to approve them can feel significant. Paint sealant packages often run $300 to $700. The actual product? Usually a polymer coating that can be purchased for under $40 and applied in an afternoon. Fabric protection is frequently a spray-on treatment. VIN etching has minimal proven theft deterrence effect in modern vehicles, which already have multiple embedded identifiers. None of these are illegal to sell, but approving them at the moment of vehicle pickup without researching them first is how several $100s disappear before you've even made your first payment. The rule: anything offered as an add-on at pickup can wait 24 hours. Ask for the documentation in writing. Do a quick search, then decide. Now, I know what some of you are thinking, but what if I actually need one of these services? That's a fair question, and the honest answer is, some of you will. The throttle body cleaning might be genuinely needed at 90,000 miles on a high-mileage city driver. A fuel treatment might make sense on an older vehicle with a rough idle. The transmission flush might be exactly the right call for a specific car on a specific timeline. The point isn't that these services are always wrong. The point is that the recommendation should come from your car's actual condition, not from a service department's quarterly revenue target. Here's a two-question rule that helps in almost every situation. 1. Is this service in my manufacturer's maintenance guide for my current mileage? 2. Is my car showing any specific symptom that suggests this system needs attention? If the answer to both is no, pause. Get a second opinion. Or at minimum, ask the service writer to explain the specific reason this is being recommended today for your car at this mileage. That question alone will separate a legitimate recommendation from a pressure-based upsell. So let's bring this together. You now have a clearer picture of where the money leaks, from the shop floor, from your own habits at home, and from the dealer service lane. The pattern in almost every case is the same, a combination of technical-sounding urgency and a driver who doesn't have the information to push back confidently. Here's your practical checklist. 5 things you can do before your next shop visit. 1. Pull your manufacturer's maintenance schedule. It's in your owner's manual or available free online by your VIN. That document, not your shop's recommendation list, is the baseline. 2. Check your tire pressure cold. Before you drive, first thing in the morning. That reading is accurate. The reading after a commute isn't. 3. Look at your transmission fluid, not just the level but the color. Bright red or light pink is healthy. Dark brown is a warning. Black with a burnt smell means it's overdue. That simple color check tells you more than a mileage number ever will. 4. Ask for your old parts back whenever something is being replaced. A brake pad, a filter, a belt. A shop doing honest work will have no problem returning the old part. It also confirms the work was actually done. 5. Before approving any service over $150, ask this. Is this listed in my manufacturer's maintenance guide, or is this your shop's recommendation? That question doesn't make you difficult. It makes you an informed customer, and a good shop will respect it. Now you know what to watch on the shop floor. But here's the thing. The most expensive problems aren't the ones that happen at the service counter. They're the ones that build quietly inside your engine between visits, and they don't trigger a single warning light until something has already failed. If your car has more than 80,000 miles on it, the next video is genuinely worth your time. It covers the 3 failure patterns that mechanics see most often in high-mileage vehicles, the kind that start small, feel like nothing, and end with a repair bill that changes your month. That video is right here. I'll see you there.